Alright boys, we're gonna go on a PC building journey inside the Lian Li Dan A3. Support for a top or side 360mm radiator, an ATX or SFX PSU, a long, beefy 4-slot GPU, an included anti-sag bracket, vented side panels for amazing cooling. This case, in my opinion, for the money, is one of the best cases ever produced in history. Okay, let's get this build going. The screwless side panels just pop off, but the top panel does have 2 thumb screws holding it in place. And the plastic front panel, which is very cheap, pops off too. 2 tiny screws hold the side fan bracket in place, so let's just remove that as I'm not going to be using that in this build. Included is an SFX power supply bracket and a bracket to mount the PSU on the side. In the normal PSU bracket is the accessory box where you'll find the GPU anti-sag bracket and all the screws required for the build. Lian Li gives you a lot of stuff in here, which is nice. As you can see, the PSU height placement can be adjusted, which you may need to do depending on what you're mounting up top and what kind of video card you're using, how long it is, and whatnot. For this build, I'm using a 9800X3D, 32GB at Kingston DDR5 6000 RAM, a Patriot Viper Lite 2TB SSD, all on the Gigabyte B850M Gaming X motherboard. This board is Gigabyte's more budget-friendly board, but it still comes with everything I need for a basic build. Sudokoo, a new company from Singapore, supplied me with their Proteus 360mm all-in-one cooler to use. This cooler is very high-end, it's beautiful. So I'm just going to get this cooler mounting hardware mounted to the board before I put the motherboard into the case. The case comes with the proper motherboard standoffs already in place for a micro ATX board, so I'm just gonna line the board up on the standoffs and screw it down using the motherboard screws from the Lian Li accessory box. Okay, next up, I want to get my SFX-L PSU installed. I wanted to go with a small form factor PSU because it opens up a bit more space in the case for cable management, just kind of on the sides and the front, and just gives you more space to work with your cables. You can definitely use a standard size ATX PSU though. This is the 850 watt Loki PSU from Asus, which costs quite a bit more than a standard ATX PSU, so keep that in mind. However, I do love this PSU. The aesthetics are one of the best in the industry, and the individually sleeved cables are a dream when you're working with them. And yes, I said dream, this is the stuff I dream about. Sleeved PSU cables and stuff like that, so do what you will with that information. Once I got the SFX bracket fastened to the PSU, I can fasten it to the main bracket and then put the PSU in place. And I'll need to just adjust the height of the PSU here in order to fit the 360mm all-in-one cooler above it. All right, here's a good look at the Sudokoo all-in-one. I don't know if it's pronounced Sudokoo or Sudokoo. They use two O's at the end, so Sudokoo. This is the all-in-one. Man, this thing is beautiful, and I'm excited to try it out. But unfortunately, it just didn't fit in this case. The fans are too thick on it, making the unit incompatible. I don't know if it is compatible with the case. Like, the fans were kind of hitting the top of the motherboard here. I should have done better homework. Luckily for me, Sudokoo also, along with their Proteus, sent me an air cooler, the SK700V, so I'm going to use that instead. And this air cooler, like their Proteus, is freaking awesome. It's AMD only, and it comes with a contact frame, and it has an awesome digital display that I'll show you more later once the build's all complete. So I'm just going to swap the mounting hardware to this cooler's contact frame. And don't install a contact frame the way I do here. Instead of just unscrewing the mechanism that holds the CPU in place, I should have opened the CPU retention bar, swung it open, then unscrewed it and took it all off. By doing what I did with everything all snug, I risked damaging the motherboard or the CPU. Luckily for me, I dodged a bullet that I would have shot in my own foot by my own hand. I was gonna delete this part of the video, the embarrassing footage, and just redo this whole section, but screw it. Alright, before I proceed any further, I want to tackle all the front panel connections. This is the front panel USB-A connection, it goes here. This is the front panel USB-C connection, it goes here. This is the front audio panel jack, it goes in the back over here. And this is the connector for the power button, which goes into this little header thing here. And onto the power supply connectors. This is the 8-pin EPS cable that runs nicely up top, giving power to the CPU. I'm just going to pre-run the GPU 8-pin connectors down here for now. I'll get to them later, I just want to set them here. And this is the 24-pin power plug. Now that that's all done, I can tidy up all the cables and zip tie and bunch them all up how I want in a little ball, a little bundle of cables down here, a little bundle of joy. And of course, I can't forget the power cable into the PSU that will eventually plug into the wall. This is actually really clean. Although this cable doesn't do cable management behind the motherboard, you don't really need it as it's all really easy to organize in the case. For as simple as this case is, I love the cable management. Alright, well, my CPU has been sitting here exposed out in the elements sphere for a while, so I'm just gonna wipe it with some 99% isopropyl alcohol. And while that's drying, I want to switch out the cooler fan that comes in this Sudokoo cooler to one of these Mach 120 fans that Sudokoo also sent me. These fans are super nice. It's actually a little bit complicated to change this fan out, but once I figured out the little rail system, it wasn't a big deal. And let's plop some thermal juice on the CPU and mate the CPU to the cooler. Now I just got to plug the cooler cables in. This cord I'm running here is the data cable for the cooler's digital display. I'm just running it down to the USB header on the motherboard. Now I'm sliding the fan back into the cooler and I'm going to plug it into the CPU fan connector on the motherboard. I'm also using one of these Mach 120 fans for the rear exhaust fan as well. I forgot to film it, but once that was screwed into the back, I ran the fan power cable and connected it to a fan connector on the motherboard just like I did the CPU fan. Now, I was kind of debating in my own head whether or not to put a fan up top, and I decided to leave the top empty. This way, air can get sucked in through the top and through the side panel at the same time and get pulled through the CPU cooler and out the rear of the case. I'm not going to add any other case fans. I want those two fans doing all the work to cool the system. I want as much mass flow of air through this cooler as possible. The GPU will add heat to the air going through the cooler, but with all the vented panels, I anticipate it won't be a problem because there's always going to be that fresh air also getting pulled into the case. As for the bottom of the case, I was going to add intake fans under the GPU, but I'm not going to, and I'm just going to let the GPU do its thing. We'll see how well thermals are once this build is done. Alright, next up, let's get this XFX 9070 XT installed. This is the XFX Swift 9070 XT. I actually accidentally pre-ran 3 8-pin GPU power cables for the GPU, but this card only requires 2, so I thought about just redoing my cable management, taking one cable out, but I'm just going to readjust these cables and store the third one underneath, which isn't a bad practice because you never know with video card upgrades in the future, they might require a third cable. So let's get these PCI covers off and slot the card in. I actually had a bit of trouble getting the card to go in. There wasn't a lot of space to be able to see what the problem was here in between the cooler and the card. I think I was just lining it up wrong. Eventually, I got it in. There's about 1 millimeter of clearance in between the cooler and the GPU here. And finally, plug the powers into the video card. Oh, and I almost forgot to screw down the power supply bracket in place, so let me quickly do that. So this build is really clean. All the cables are cleanly tucked away, providing for some excellent airflow paths. I really like going with an SFX-L PSU for this build because it gives that extra space for cable routing. So anyways, that's the build done. Let's get this bad boy buttoned up, powered up, and do some thermal testing. Alright, so playing Cyberpunk at 1440p on the Ultra preset for 2 hours straight, the CPU temp hovered in the high 60s and spiked up to around 75 and never got above 80 degrees, all while the fan speed was at 50%. I'm very happy with this CPU temp and this cooler in this case. The digital display is also really nice, and it does come with some pretty easy to use software with it. The GPU never got above 65 degrees Celsius. Like I already said, I'm fine with these temps. Once I realized I couldn't use the all-in-one cooler in this build, I wanted to make this build as basic as possible. Like, I could add more fans if you wanted to, but I wanted to show just how good this case is for airflow with just the single case fan and the air cooler fan, and props to Sudokoo for this air cooler.